Hey everyone, and welcome back to this very new channel, this very new experiment. This is my third video, and in today's video, I want to talk about how you might want to go about sharing the news with your family and friends that you decided to join the military. I'm going to give my personal experience about what happened when I told my family and friends. Kind of funny. I don't pretend to know what kind of family you come from, whether they are supportive of the military or if they would rather you do something else. I don't know how open-minded they are to their children pivoting maybe in career. Maybe it's going to completely blindside them. Maybe you included them in your journey towards making this decision. But I'm going to give my personal story. I'm going to tell you what happened when I told my family and friends. Then I'm going to give you maybe some advice you could use. I told my family first before I told my friends. I wanted my mom and dad to know exactly what I was thinking, why I was choosing this change of course, why I chose to pivot away from being a high school teacher to being a sailor. So when I told them, I didn't say I was joining the military. My initial phone call to them was basically to introduce them to the idea and the news that I was considering enlisting. I told them that I was beginning the process of gathering some research and talking to people and figuring out if it was the best choice for me and if it was even possible. I didn't know much about joining at the time, so I didn't know if I was even eligible. I was in pretty good shape and I already had education and everything, so I thought, why would they deny me? Unless they found something medically wrong with me that I didn't know about, which, rendered me ineligible. But that was the phone call. Because at the time, I was in, I guess you could say, an unhealthy relationship. I was with my partner for about two and a half years, and things have been going downhill. And living in Anchorage, a very expensive place to live on like a educator's salary, teacher salary, I really relied on this person to help out financially as we were, cohabitating. And I thought, if I want to get out of here, if I want to escape and, charter my new path, I need something that is going to allow me to leave and, be financially secure. So I thought, I don't think I can continue education. This is getting to why I joined. Anyway, because I was living in Anchorage, I really couldn't go home and tell them. So I told them over the phone that I was considering it. This allowed me to bring them into the process. This allowed them to also have a say and voice their either concerns or their support or their reservations towards it, or whatever emotions they were feeling. I wanted them to be a part of the conversation. I didn't want them to think that I was just jumping in without any consideration for anything else in life. And so this really helped them ease into the idea. Now, I know my dad was okay with it because he was in the Air Force and he always regretted not staying in. So I knew he wasn't going to be a hurdle. But mom, being a mom, very supportive and very nurturing. She doesn't want her kids to be in harm's way and all that. And she was very happy with me teaching, relatively safe profession. So she was the one I knew I had to win over. And in the end, it was fine. After several months talking every week and keeping them updated on my progress of what I was learning and the excitement level kind of rising, they were both pretty much on board. So when I told them ultimately I had decided, they were all for it, and it was great. To tell the rest of my family and the rest of my world, I decided to just make a Facebook post for everyone to read. I didn't want to have to, go through the whole song and dance of telling the whole story to 50,000 people. I'm going to make a post. I'm going to write out like a couple paragraphs explaining what led me to this and why I've decided ultimately on joining, and they can do with it as they wish. Whether they support it or not, I don't really care. I did, however, want to tell my best friend in a very interesting way. So I knew that they would never guess. So I thought, I'm going to give them a list of possibilities, things that I am going to do. One of them is going to be true. The rest are going to be false, obviously. They had a list of like 5 things. One was join the military. One was start a nonprofit. One was going to South America and teaching in a village where they're building schools and whatnot. One was the Peace Corps. One was starting my own business. So just like, big ideas, big things that when people do, it's kind of a big deal. And I was like, okay, one of these is true. Which one do you think I'm going to do? Because one of these things I am going to do. It was so hilarious because the first thing they said was, okay, well, we know it's not the military. And I was like, oh, go on. What did they decide on? I think it was something with teaching or the Peace Corps. I don't know. But when I told them, they were very shocked. I think there was a lot of laughter even. They had absolutely no idea this is what I was thinking. It's kind of funny. For most people, it came out of left field. They would never have thought that I was going to join the service. Just knowing me, they had no idea why I was doing this. And I still think it was one of the best decisions of my life because of all the doors that have opened up for me that wouldn't have been open, at least not as easily, had I not joined the military. But it's a big deal. Telling the people in your life, the people you love, the people who love you and support you and whom you cherish the opinion of, it's a kind of a big decision as to how you're going to tell them. Because you don't know, sometimes maybe, you might not know if they're going to be supportive or if they're going to not give you what you're really wanting from them, which is support. And so you have to be prepared. You have to be ready for their response. So this is why I would encourage you to bring them into the conversation prior to making a final decision so that they can join you on this journey. And so that when you actually say, I've decided yes, they aren't blindsided, and at least if they're not as supportive as you would want them to be, at least they've had an idea, they've been introduced to the idea, and it's not so much of a shock. And if they are still not supportive, they can hopefully hide that a little bit. But you can also make it fun. Give them options, give them choices. Okay, one of these things I'm gonna do, the rest I'm not. Which one? And make them really outlandish. Because if you're anything like me, the military was the last thing they thought of. Anyway, yeah, so share with me how you have decided to tell your family you're joining the military, whether it's Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, Space Force, whatever. Yeah. Hope to see you in the next video. Be sure to like the video, subscribe. This really helps the algorithm send this to people who would also benefit from this or who are interested in this kind of video. And I will see you next time.